All right, happy Monday, everybody. We're gonna talk a little bit about. Well, we're gonna actually get into a little bit of Razorback football. We got some Razorback football stuff to discuss. There's always a little bit of something there, and then of course we're gonna talk about Arkansas and Kentucky getting ready to tip off tomorrow. A late game on a Tuesday night, but listen, I'm glad Arkansas is still in the picture, and this is potentially it could be a huge game for Arkansas if they're in the W column. So we're gonna discuss this matchup and more. Let's do it. 3, 2, 1. Yo. Hope you guys I hope you had a great weekend. I know Arkansas coming off, a win, an ugly win. I had several people reach out and say, Ty, I don't care how they did it. They won. They took care of business and so on and so forth. And listen, they won the game. They held control over South Carolina for the most part. They led the vast majority of the game, but that final 5 minutes always gets me a little bit concerned. Aaron Harbinson, Super Chat, have a good Monday. Let's go. That's right, baby. That's right. Oh, I love it, though. This is my favorite time of year. Getting ready we're coming out of the NFL playoffs. Not super pumped I've already talked about that. Eagles and Chiefs is just not. It'll be fun to watch, though. It's going to be our last bit of football that we'll have until spring, till spring football comes around, which is like Christmas for me because that's even more content that we can publish here and get out there for you. But yeah, March Madness is coming. It'll be here before you know it. And then you've got baseball coming around the corner. I'm going to cover some baseball here. XFL, says Mike. Okay, to me, the XFL is more like the circus. It's not as good of a product as the NFL or college. It's like going to the circus. I'm definitely going to watch it. I'll definitely watch the XFL. I will. It'll be entertaining. Go St. Louis Battlehawks, baby. I'm all in. I'm all in on the Battlehawks. I'm going to get me some merch. All right. Shout out if you guys. Our new month of Patreon has rolled over, and here we go. Month of January. Highlighted names are in the $8 plus club. Look at you. Look at all of you. Super Patreon subscribers, and even just anyone who's a subscriber to Patreon to Tuss Talk with Ty. I really do appreciate that. Can't do it without you. Cannot do what I do without you. Of course, shout out to our sponsors, Direct Service Overhead. They offer same-day services, quality parts, affordable outcomes, hundreds of 5-star reviews. We've uploaded some of their work in Discord if you want to go take a look at that. These guys, Direct Service Overhead, kick some ass. 501-244-3667. Again, that's Direct Service Overhead, the Garage Door Company. Apex Tattoo Studio, they've moved location, but they still offer fantastic art for an affordable price. We come check out our new location, 201 South 19th Street, Suite P in Rogers, Arkansas. They're offering tap-out sessions. If you mention Tuss Talk with Ty on the tap-out sessions, which is like they just keep going until you tell them to stop, just mention Tuss Talk with Ty, you get 10% off. And last but not least, the Odd Soul, located right here in South Springdale. Craft bar and pizzeria. Their pies are delicious, and their IPAs, it's all the local stuff. If you dig some black apple, they've got it. Maybe you want something other than they've got it. It's not just black apple. They got a little bit of everything there. But it's a great atmosphere, great staff. They'll take care of you. Tell them Ty sent you. I don't think they're doing discounts for if you mention Ty, but hey, maybe I don't know. It'll make you cool in the bar. It'll make you cool. You'll be the popular guy. Oh, he's from Tuss Talk with Ty. He watches that show. All right. Yeah, great pies, though. Seriously. Fantastic pizza. And the IPA. Everything you want is on tap, and they have it on their TV screens, what they have on tap. It's pretty cool. It's a neat experience when you go inside the Odd Soul. Again, located on Emma Street. All right, we are going to point out some numbers and some stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about Arkansas on the road and kind of what they've been up against a little bit, kind of discuss what they need to do to get past Kentucky. We know Oscar Tshiebwe is the man. They've got some pretty good guard play as well. Kentucky's going to be a very tough matchup for the Razorbacks, and Going to give you some surprising numbers, too. Something you might find a little bit interesting about Kentucky as well. But before we get into that, how about Pro Football Focus? Rocket Sanders turning some heads. I don't know if you guys saw this last week. Oh, there it is. There's our graphic. Look at that. Top 10 returning running backs in the 2023 season, and Rocket comes in behind Judkins. I'm sorry. We did discuss this a little bit, but I wanted to show off this. Graphic. And also, I don't think we went in much at all on this, but they I know we mentioned it last week, but we're gonna it's in the headlines. We're gonna discuss it a little more. Rocket obviously had an incredible year, but for Pro Football Focus to rate him that high, I cannot think of a running back at Arkansas since PFF has been around where preseason or postseason they were looked at as a top 3 player in that category. So Rocket Sanders, and I've said all along, I think this year, again, God willing, he stays healthy. He's available for however many, all 12, at least it's all regular season. He's available. He avoids injury. We know that's hard to do, especially at that position. But if he stays healthy and does his thing, and if Dan Enos is the right fit, Rocket could have a hell of a year. And his name will be cemented into those elite running backs that have played at Arkansas. And listen, if you're in that category, I'm not saying Rocket's a first-round draft pick, but let's not sit here and pretend like Darren McFadden and Felix Jones didn't go in the first round together in the same year. Let's not act like they haven't had some pretty good talent at that next level and guys get drafted in the first few rounds over the years. Rocket's going to cement. I think he will, especially with Dan Enos. Now, there are some questions about the offensive line. What are they doing at both the tackle spot? What's that going to look like at both left and right tackle? What are they going to do at center? Sam Pittman's still in charge. And I'll tell you, I definitely saw them in practice. When I watched Sam Pittman, he kept a pretty good eye on the offensive line. I don't think he spent most of his time there. I think he does a pretty good job just based on what they gave the media, what they allowed us to see. I'm not media, but I'm just a guy that lucked out getting there, which was fantastic. But what little bit of time we got to see in their 3 to 4 periods we were allowed to watch, which is roughly about 25 minutes. He did a good job of walking around and kind of, pumping up the players, talking to the receivers and the corners. But I definitely, you could see there's just something about him being keened in on what's going on with the offensive line. He's still, that's where his jive is at, man. I mean, that's his background is coaching the offensive line. So I feel like, especially with Coach Kennedy, with what they've got going up front, with the recruits they brought in the last couple of classes, I think the offensive line is going to be just fine. I really do. I don't know that. They may give up. It could be one of those years where they have great run blocking, but they're giving up sacks, right? We saw that. And in fact, when Brett Bielema was here, there was quite a bit of criticism. Austin Allen and Brandon Allen getting pressured, especially Austin, his last year here getting a lot of pressure, but Arkansas still able to kind of get the run game going. Speaking of offensive line, though, how about this? Also, Pro Football Focus, right there's the new graphic. Bo Limmer, top 10 returning interior offensive lineman coming back. He's number 2. Bo freaking Limmer, man. How about him? Go Bo. PFF showing a little bit of love to the Razorbacks. I'd say Rockets turning some heads, but boy, I tell you what now, Bo Limmer at second on their list there of interior offensive linemen. That's centers, left guard, right guard. And he is second on that list. What would his overall rating be if NCAA football were coming out this year? Him and Rocket both, and KJ. They would all have to be, how do you not put the 3 of them in the 90s? Bo Limmer had a strong year, man. Bo had a very strong year, quietly. Maybe 88, right? But I don't know. You put him second in that category. PFF is definitely in love with Bo. So way to go, Razorbacks. Look at that. Well done. We got some super chats here. Hang on. Let's close out these screens. Best thumbnail I've ever seen. I was quite proud of that thumbnail. I'm not going to lie, Cade. I was very impressed. I made it work. Did a little tie magic on the thumbnail. Took me all morning, but by God, I made it happen. What's up, Philip White? How you doing, man? Rocket is greater than both the dudes above him. I do think he's better than Judkins, but Judkins' a pretty damn good player, man. Judkins is a really good player. Rocket can cement his right to wear that number 5 this season. Absolutely. Paul Raymond, yo, what's going on, baby? How you doing? Howdy, folks. What's up, Ty? Power to the people, says John Everett. I don't know what that's about, but okay. All right, power to the people. Make sure you guys like the stream. Make sure you like the show, share the content, subscribe. I am reaching out to some folks. I'm thinking about bringing on some guests possibly this week. Been talking to a couple of people in the DMs this morning. That's another thing that's kind of kept me behind. I've been doing a lot of work this morning, getting some stuff done with Discord. Make sure you guys check out the link to Discord if you want to join. Let me get you the link here really fast. Copy and paste. You'd think I'd have just like a quick. There's Discord if you guys want to join. There it is. I assume not, but have you seen any news on Nick Smith Jr.? No. Nope. A lot of rumors, a lot of people with their quote unquote sources. Oh, he's going to be back on the road against Kentucky. I'll just believe it when it happens. And that's not a hate on Nick Smith. It's just I don't know. It's just where I'm at with it. Like I'll believe it when I see him out on the floor. I'm not saying he won't. I think he will. I don't know why. Why did he enroll this semester? Why has he still been with the team only to just not play? I don't see that happening. I think he's going to play. People on Facebook with sources crack me up. Not just Facebook. It's I've had some funny stuff sent my way. That's for sure. If Centennia balls out in number 16, is that the next legacy number possibility? Oh, it's a good question. That's a good question. Maybe. I mean, we know Centennia's got some skill. We know that he could bring it. I mean, he's a speedster. We'll see what he does. Different kind of player, obviously, compared to Treylon Burks. Burks is, I don't know, man. Burks was like a mashup of different type of players. You know, I feel like you could line him up just about anywhere on either side of the ball, and he would excel. I mean, that's why I put him in the freaking nature category. And again, we've talked about his 40 time. I was surprised by the 4.52. I would have thought low 4.4, you know, maybe high 4.3, low 4.4. Just watching him, you know, play. Watch all the times we saw him just make remarkable plays, bail out bad throws. You know, he looks like he's got a catch radius of like a Mack truck. And then he runs like one after the ball, or he can. And then he's a little bit elusive. He's a little bit of everything. Centennia's a little bit more limited in that I feel like he's probably a slot player at the next level. He's probably a slot wide receiver. Maybe has a little bit of a mix of like Joe Adams and Jarius Wright, you know, when you talk about mixing the two. Whereas Burks was like Greg Childs. I don't know. London Crawford. Greg Childs, but faster and bigger hands, better catch radius. You know, I don't know. By the way, I fired up Madden. I fired up Madden 23 finally. And I took on the Titans because I just wanted to see how bad he was. He's not good on that game. He's not good. He's I mean, for a top 20 draft pick, Madden clearly doesn't like Treylon Burks. Treylon Burks dropped as many balls as he caught. Madden 23 is not that bad. I'm not a big fan of the no-look interceptions. They seem to come back in the franchise. That was a problem I had with NCAA football. Burks is the best wide receiver I've ever seen in a Hog jersey. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think he is the greatest wide receiver to ever wear the jersey in the modern era of college football with Arkansas. Maybe he was out of shape. All that training camp stuff. Well, we know he had apparently he had an inhaler. He was struggling with throughout preseason, right? I don't want to say that he has anything, but we know that he had an inhaler. We know that much. Titans need to learn how to use the man. Well, I think, too, they have serious questions at quarterback, and Willis looks like he's got a little ways to go, They've as an offense, they're very much as close to a Brett Bielema 10 yards in a cloud of dust as you get in the NFL, which is so uncommon. It's just so uncommon. No one runs out of the power eye as much anymore. And that's what they do. It's a lot of power eye, offset eye, tight end, 2 tight end sets. Not a lot of love in the passing game, yet they've had success in the passing game. Yet they've had a great wide receiver in this system. And that's what they expected Treylon Burks to do. They expected Burks to just walk in and be that. And that's asking too much for a freshman. I don't like that Arkansas fans are getting into arguments with Nick Smith Jr. on Twitter. It's a bad look. I'm going to say it happens just about everywhere because it does. Oh, thanks, Michael Tribble. I got to say that's a first. I got a PayPal. Thanks for the PayPal, man. Michael Tribble, if you're still in chat, I appreciate that. Thank you for the for the PayPal. Appreciate that. It happens everywhere. The back and forth between players and fans. It does. It's not a good look for Arkansas because you're talking about a potential lottery pick, a guy who the optics are from the outside looking in is that he wants to be a Razorback, he wants to play on the floor, yet the reception that Nick Smith gets on Twitter is so negative. But it's like a couple of people. At the end of the day, think of the amount of Hog fans that are active on Twitter. What's the percentage of fans that are doing that? Now, I agree 0 is the only acceptable number, but that's not how this works. That's not how humanity works, man. That's just not how it works. Anywhere. You can't engineer society. Communists tried. You can't do it. People are people. Some people are just shittier than other people. Why people are tweeting things like that at Nick Smith is beyond me. I don't understand it. All he can do is block them. And, I don't know what it's like to be a don't get me wrong, he's going to be a rich young man here really soon. But to deal with the online pressures, I mean, the guy, he probably can't go anywhere without having to hear that from someone. There's going to be that one guy, and unfortunately that's just Twitter. Dan Tanner says blank commies. I agree. Maybe he was just a great college player. Wait, who are you talking about? Maybe he was just a great college player. Sometimes players just aren't NFL guys. Who are you talking about? You see him mocked to OKC. Yeah, I did see that. Oh, my Lord. Wouldn't that be something, though, huh? Another former Hog going to play at OKC. Yeah, he's still projected. I mean, Nick Smith is projected top 5 pick. Listen, if he really were to move on, he would have already moved on. That's why I think he ends up playing. Animal Farm. Oh, I love that. It's a great reference there. OKC becoming Fayetteville West. Yeah, that's about accurate. If you would have stayed, well, again, who are you guys talking about? Nick's dad put out a tweet about him practicing this week. Oh, did he now? Now, see, I don't follow his dad on Twitter. Who is his dad on Twitter? I've seen people reference him on Twitter. Give me his, make sure you tag at Tuss Talk and give me his Twitter handle, and I'll go look at it. All right, let's look into this game really fast, huh? I mean, this is really what's on our table today. I wanted to point something out, and while it's pretty obvious to most of you, I would argue like 90% of you, most of you are going to get this. I still see this argument on Twitter like, it's not just this one stat. And yet, I think really these two stats are very important for Arkansas on the road. So let's get into it. Hogs on the road these last 6 games. So this is including 5 road games in SEC play and the Baylor game. Listen to this, okay? at LSU, the very first, your opening SEC game. Your opening SEC game at LSU, 5 of 10, 50%. What do you think I'm talking about? What do you think I'm talking about there? What's 5 of 10 at 50%? In some areas, that's a hell of a stat. Holy shit, they were 5 of 10 outside shooting. They were 50% outside in the perimeter? No. No. Not that that's a lot of attempts. I mean, that's below average amount of attempts outside. But still, 5 of 10 at the free throw line. 5 of 10 at the free throw line, and you lose this game 60-57. In a game, by the way, from what I understand, again, this is the only game this year I did not get access to. I watched them thanks to Flow Sports. I watched all the European games, all the games overseas. It's the only game I haven't watched. So from what I understand, it certainly looks like it because I don't think LSU had more than about 12 shots at the free throw line. It might maybe a little more or a little less. 50%. 50%. Okay, well maybe that's just a one-off. By the way, 10 turnovers. That's not terrible. On the road, that's not bad. At home, you would like that number to come down. On the road, 10 turnovers is definitely that's the fewest turnovers Arkansas have had on the road this year, at least since conference play. Here's the next stat: 19 of 32. Again, if we were talking threes, that would be incredible. No, we're talking free throw line. You lose this game, and again, you lost to LSU 60-57. You're going to tell me the free throws didn't matter in that game? Oh my God, yes they did. Now getting to the line is supposed to be Musselman's. That's supposed to be his. That's his thing, right? Getting to the free throw line. And then you got to make them. And there were times last year, yeah, they shot 60%, 55%. But they were definitely a little bit more consistent in a positive manner at home and on the road at the free throw line, at both getting there and shooting. 19 of 32 in what was one of the worst officiated games. It's in the top 3, in my opinion, of worst officiated games for Arkansas. 59%. Yeah, free throws definitely would have helped. This would have tightened that game. Of course, Auburn would end up winning this game 72-59. Arkansas had 14 turnovers. Those are not 59% at the line and 14 turnovers. That's not a recipe for success. Yes, these are not the only 2 stats that matter. Shooting, overall field goal percentage, how effective were you outside in the perimeter? How effective were you on the defensive end of the floor? Or defensive side of the floor. What was your bench play like? What kind of production did you get out of your bench? Did you get quality minutes out of a couple of guys off the bench? All those things matter. But these 2 things are huge for Arkansas, and had they just been a little bit better in both these categories, it's the difference between a 60-57 loss to a possibly 61-60 victory for Arkansas. Like, it's these tiny little things that if they just do right, they're in better shape at winning on the road. Okay, Vandy on the road against Vandy, 15 of 24 at the free throw line. Again, hell of a stat outside shooting. Won't happen. That's not what they do out in the perimeter. Arkansas, if they took that many attempts, they'd hit like 8. Let's be real. 62%. 11 turnovers. Again, 11 you could kind of live with, but you don't. That's definitely not an area you want to be at. At Mizzou, here's the outlier. Here's the outlier where one stat is incredible, maybe the best ever under Musselman, given the amount of shots versus the amount of turnovers. One of his worst on the road. 23 of 26 made free throws. That's 88, almost 89% shooting at the free throw line. 21 turnovers. Yes, officiating was atrocious. The worst officiated game I've ever seen. And again, it feels like we say this every year. We're saying this. Like, it's the worst I've ever seen. This one was really bad, and a lot of people will agree with it. 76-79, or 76-79 is the loss. 21 turnovers. Sorry, I'm getting tagged and stuff. I was just making sure I didn't disconnect. Sometimes you guys tag me and I'm on Discord or on Twitter or something, and I'm like, oh, Ty, you're disconnected. Baylor, 6 of 11. Yeah, they didn't do a very good job getting to the free throw line. It was a really well officiated game. Yeah, Arkansas should have had more trips. I agree. Should have been more than 11 attempts at the free throw line. There were definitely a couple possessions in a row where I thought Baylor kind of got some real good home cooking. But you're 54% there, 6 of 11. You lost that game 64-67. 15 turnovers. These are things that just can't happen. You can't have 54% at the line and also 15 turnovers. South Carolina, 69%, 11 turnovers. You can win with that. You can win with 69%. You can win with 9 of 13 at the free throw line with just 11 turnovers against a team like South Carolina. Can you do that against someone like Kentucky? Probably not. Hogs have averaged 14 turnovers. It's almost, I think it's 14.6. Almost 15 turnovers the last 6 road games. These are the categories. These are the things that are like, maybe you hit just a couple more at the free throw line. Just knock down a couple more freebies at the line. Prevent just a couple more turnovers. Like, it's that much of a difference between the win and the loss column for Arkansas this year. They're not, listen, I do think at the end of the day, and again, it's not their own fault. It's not a reflection of Musselman. It's not a reflection of the talent on the floor or on the bench. I just don't think they're definitely not a great team. And they're right on the cusp of being a good team. But they're right below that. They're just right below being a good team. Kentucky's going to be a tough matchup for Arkansas for so many different reasons. Again, they're getting things figured out at guard. Oscar Tshiebwe is going to have, oh my God, I mean, this is a cat that's averaging 16 points, 15 rebounds a game. I mean, unbelievable numbers. I really don't know. There's certain players that play around the iron for Arkansas that struggle at boxing out around the iron. And one of those guys is a key player, or has become a key player, and that's Graham. Graham gets, I mean, if they do double up on Tshiebwe and Graham is a part of that, Tshiebwe is going to get knocked around. Graham's going to get knocked around. Tshiebwe is going to abuse him. Of course, you're going to have the Mitchell twins. I expect Arkansas to probably go with the Mitchell twins. We'll see what they do with the rest of the lineup. Of course, Devo and Ricky Council will be in there. I'm curious to see who Walsh gets matched up with, and Devo as well. This is going to have to be your best defensive performance of the year, and that's saying a lot because they've had several really good defensive performances this year. Even in some losses, they've actually done pretty well on the defensive end of the floor. You can't have this. You cannot be at. You really need to keep your turnovers at single digits. You really need to be at 9. You could kind of maybe live with 10, but those turnover numbers and at Rupp, that's tough to do, especially with this squad. I imagine that's going to be tough for them. But you need to keep it single digits. You'd love to see free throw line shooting around 70. You'd love 75%, but we all know that's going to be a lot to ask. They have done it. And they did it in a hostile environment. Mizzou, go back to that game and listen to it. That crowd was in it. I'm going to give them all the respect they deserve. That crowd was in it, and Arkansas still shot 88%, which is just incredible. You cut those turnovers down by like 3, you probably win that game even with the bad officiating. Well, that's another thing. How's officiating going to be tomorrow night for Arkansas? Who's officiating this game? Let's look at net rankings. Let's take a look at net rankings here. And I promise I'll get back to chat here in just a second. Arkansas is actually ahead of Kentucky in net rankings, and they're ahead of Auburn. This is why they're still viewed as possibly somewhere between an 11, depending on who you read. I think Lenardi has them as an 11 seed. This is why. Okay, you're 4-1 versus quad 2. You're 6-1 versus quad 3. You really should be 7-0 in quad 3. But and then, of course, you're, as expected, undefeated in quad 4. Somehow Kentucky has a quad 4 loss. We know who that was. They're 6-1 in quad 4. They're undefeated in quad 3 and quad 2. Kentucky is 1-6 versus quad 1 opponents. That's RPI top 30, right? That's a quad 1 ranking. They're 1-6. Auburn is 1-4. I think they should have gotten a win against Tennessee. I think they got gypped. But I'll leave that alone. It's a toss-up because the player did flop at the end of that play, but there was definitely contact at the beginning of his stroke. Should have been a foul, but whatever. He also flopped, which would have just resulted in a warning. But regardless, 1-4 for Auburn in quad 1. Arkansas is 1-5. Arkansas, again, we talk about the discrepancy. We talked about the free throw shooting, the percentage, and how just making a couple more baskets or turning the ball over just a couple, 2-3 times less in some of these games. That's the difference between 1-5 and maybe even 3-3 in quad one, and all of a sudden your net ranking's even higher. We're not talking 11 seed, we're talking maybe 8 seed and higher, or 7 seed if that's where you're at, depending on who you beat. Like Alabama had those final 4.5 minutes not happen the way they did. You were in that game until that moment. You were toe to toe with Alabama up until the final 4.5 minutes. Arkansas is going to have their hands full with Kentucky. There's no doubt. Right now, I'll just tell you, I don't like Arkansas in this game. It's not that I don't think they're very good. Again, I think they're somewhere between so and good. They're somewhere in there. This game could change that whole narrative. Going into Rupp and finding a way to win, to get a win here. I mean, listen, it's not to say that it's impossible because, again, they went on the road, went toe-to-toe with Baylor, went toe-to-toe, should have beaten Mizzou. They went toe-to-toe with Bama, even though it was at home. Still, I mean, Alabama's a quality opponent. They've won big games on the road quite easily against quad one and quad two teams. And Arkansas was taking care of business, or at least staying in that game up until, again, the final 4.5 minutes. This was a game that was really decided all in about 45 seconds. Just a defensive breakdown and a couple of lucky baskets. And all of a sudden, that made the difference. It just is what it is. It was one of those kind of games, but I think it is on the table for Arkansas to find a way to win this game. I think ESPN, the Basketball Power Index, has given them something like a 30% chance or something. That might be. I think that's pretty accurate. I think it's 30 to 30. That's probably where I'd put it. I'd probably say they've got about a 30 to maybe 40% chance if they play flawless basketball. If we get their best performance on the road. Yeah, I think they could win this game, even with the things they're doing at guard with the different moves. Coach K finally, Calipari making some adjustments, which is rare for him. He's very stubborn. He's made some adjustments with some guards, and they're playing really good basketball right now. I think you're going to have to play damn near flawless. I think you are going to need to be at about 75% at the free throw line with plenty of trips and getting Sheboy somehow into foul trouble. Get him a couple of quick fouls in the first half, come out in the second half, go right at him, draw those fouls. Unfortunately, Arkansas just doesn't really have that guy that does that real well. They don't have someone who draws fouls real well. In fact, you're seeing more charge calls than just as much as you are seeing just fouls on the defense. But they're going to need to be 75%. They're probably going to need to knock down 6 to 8 threes. They're going to have to shoot 40%, north of 40 to 45%. Stay out of foul trouble. They're going to need Walsh for all. If you want my opinion, I think they're going to need Walsh for solid 25 to 30 minutes. His off-the-ball defense is good. We know he can defend most teams 1 through 4. He can defend the guard, the wing, point guard. He can defend all the way down to the 4 in most cases against some teams that maybe don't have the highest of caliber of talent. Kentucky does, though. No matter what kind of issues they've had on the floor this year. Going to have to play some really good basketball. Kentucky is playing at a really high level lately. Now, that hasn't always been the case. Kentucky this year, some head-scratching losses. They again, you look at, they lost to Mizzou on the road. They got spanked, 89 to 75 against Mizzou on the road. They lost to Alabama, got spanked, 78-52 on the road, but a lot of people do. Their most confusing loss this year was South Carolina at home. A game they lost 71-68. They played KU in the SEC Big 12 Challenge, and they lost that one 77-68 at home. But now they're on a 2-game conference win streak. Actually, they're on including a win on the road against Tennessee. Is Tennessee maybe a little too high ranked? I definitely think they're a top 10. I don't know that I'm buying top 5. I don't know. I mean, they're a good team. Probably between them and Florida, I think they are the best defensive team maybe in college basketball. Offensively, they go on these droughts. I watched the little bit of the replay of them in Auburn. I mean, had just a couple things gone right for Auburn, they probably do win that game. So it's just, that's the difference, right? That's the game of basketball. That just is what it is. But again, you look at their win streak here, going all the way back to when they played Tennessee a couple, 3 weeks ago. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 game win streak right now in SEC play. for Kentucky. Right now, Kentucky's 16-7 overall, 7-3 with at least one head-scratching loss. Again, they lost to Michigan State earlier this year, a Big Ten opponent, and Michigan State's not the best of teams right now. They're 14-9. Now, maybe they've got some injuries or something going on. I don't know, but that I would argue that's probably a head-scratcher of a loss for Kentucky, even if it was. I think that was that neutral site? Was that in Michigan? I felt like this was a neutral site game. I could be wrong, but regardless, they lost that game. A little bit of a head scratcher. They've had some close calls against some so-so opponents. They beat Yale by 10, 69-59. I thought there was another game. Yeah, LSU at home. Kentucky beat LSU at home 74-71. A close win at home against a garbage LSU team. So, and that's been several weeks ago. That's been a while ago. Again, Kentucky's made some adjustments, and they're just playing better ball. Oscar Tshiebwe, points per game, 16. Wheeler has come along, and he's at 6. He's almost 6 assists. That's, Anthony Black is your leading assist guy, and he's at 4 per game for Arkansas. But they are points per game. They're 75 points a game. That puts them right outside the top 100. We know they're going to be great at rebounding, but surprisingly, they're not where I thought they would be. I figured they'd be a top 10, top 20 rebounding team. They're 45th in the country at almost 39 rebounds, but they're only giving up 66 points a game. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting matchup between Arkansas and Kentucky and trying to figure this thing out. You're going to figure it out quick. You got to bounce back quick. This isn't a Wednesday 8 p.m. This is a Tuesday 8 p.m. game. Auburn, a pretender. I don't know what to make of Auburn either, but they should have beaten Tennessee. Taking over for sure. Blah, 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 blah. Kamani is pretty good at getting himself and his opponent's fouls. Raises their emotions. Yeah, he can definitely get into foul trouble quick. Kamani has been the most surprising, and I really thought Kamani was going to play a bigger role this year, and he just hasn't. What are his average minutes per game? It's not real high. This is not a guy that's getting a lot of minutes. Kamani is. I really thought he'd play a bigger role, especially after Brazil went down, just to kind of help with the meat down low, right? What is Kamani getting? Where are you, Kamani? How many minutes are you getting per game? Okay, a little more than I thought. I would have guessed 8. He's getting 12 minutes a game. 2 points, 3 rebounds per game, which isn't bad, all things considered. We've seen him come off the bench for 2 minutes, grab a couple rebounds, and then that was it out of him. Yeah, they're going to have to ask their bigs down low. The guard play will be interesting because you're going to have size on size at guard. Ricky Council needs to step up and have a Ricky Council early in the season, Ricky Council type game. No Nick Smith. It just is what it is. I know that's the most frequently asked question. I don't know what to tell you about Nick Smith. Okay, he's either going to play or he's not. He's definitely not playing in this game. I don't think he's playing in this game. Maybe we'll know more, but I really don't know. It's the biggest question mark, and it's going to go down as a huge what if he does miss the whole season, the rest of the season. But I think he does play. I do. I feel like he's going to play. Ty, start Twin at 5. Graham 4, Walsh 3, Devo 2, Black 1. Yeah, that's probably. Yeah. Nick Smith. That's Nick Smith's Twitter. What's his dad's Twitter? You guys are saying he was on Twitter talking. I think you guys got A&M at the end of a long stint. Good home win. Yeah, they're going to go on the road. That'll be another good matchup, a possibility of sweeping a Texas A&M team. If Devo keeps shooting the way he is, and we get Nick Smith back, I'll be so much more confident. Oh my gosh, yeah, Devo has stepped into a role I didn't think was possible. Not only is Devo your best on ball defender, not only does this dude shut down some of the best scoring guards in all of SEC or even just total basketball. Not only is he a just monster defensively, he's now become, I mean, he's knocking down, he's 32%. Now, I don't know what he is in SEC play, but I feel like he's probably hovering around 40%. I think one of you actually posted that either in Discord or in chat. But in SEC play, he's got to be hovering around north of 35% outside. He has become your most consistent perimeter player on both ends of the floor, and that has been such a boost, and it's why you're in the situation that you're in. Without Devo, you are not in the conversation of making the tournament right now. You're not on Lenardi's list. You're not projected as 11 or 10 or 9, whatever. You're not anywhere. You're not near there without Devo. His turnaround on the offensive end of the floor, at least as a perimeter player. Now, when he drives, I hold my breath, and I don't know what's about to happen when he drives the ball. You know, he's either going to make some freak easy layup or he's going to turn the ball over. He might draw a foul. You just don't know what you're getting when he drives. Turns the ball over, gets a little too careless with the basketball. I completely agree with all that. You know, and they're going to need him to. He's going to have to be a major presence for Arkansas against Kentucky. He's going to have a game. And maybe not. I mean, it just depends on who else steps up. Again, Ricky Council being early in the season, Ricky Council would be absolutely huge for the Hogs here. Again, it's a tough matchup, no matter which way you want to look at it. No matter which way you want to look at it, right? I don't know what the magic number is. Some of you are asking me about the magic number. I don't know. I know you're still in good shape in the net, in RPI. You're still in good shape. You know, again, you're right now. They're at 29th in the RPI. You're 1-5 against quad one. You'd love to change that. You'd love to add one, maybe two more quad one wins. Do they have it in them when they play at their best? And I don't think this about every team in the SEC. When they play at their best, they are capable of getting some quad one upsets. Yes. Do they do that this year? I don't know. I have them in. I'm right there either in the bubble or I've got them in. I have them in no matter what happens on the road the rest of this year. Even if they do drop, if they split with Kentucky, which will probably happen, you still got Florida at home. Florida's a better defensive team than people want to give them credit for. Watch them play. They're a very good defensive basketball team. You still got them at home. You still got Kentucky at home. Kentucky, listen, they're just as capable of sweeping you, as you are splitting with them. So you've still got to win the games you're supposed to win. You still have to play these games and win them. But I think they're in. These next 3 or 4 games could change that. It could absolutely alter where they're at. It kind of feels like you're on pins and needles from here on out at home. On the road, I don't know. Maybe they do need to sneak out 1, maybe 2 more on the road. Maybe. I don't know. Again, Lenardi still likes them in, and listen, Arkansas has their final stretch. I think it's the toughest. You can maybe make the argument the toughest in Power 5 basketball. I mean, you've got 2 games left with Kentucky. You got to go on the road against A&M, who doesn't lose at home and who still has a really sexy SEC record. You've got Florida at home, who might be one of the best defensive basketball teams this year in college basketball there's more, ranked opponents that are better, but defensively they're a really solid team, and I think they're second best defensive team in the league, which I thought at this point early in the year I figured we'd be talking about Arkansas being in that category, but right now it's Tennessee and probably Florida. At least Florida's in the mix at the top if they're not second, but you've got some tough games. And it's not a given that you're going to win at home. It's not. It's not a given that you're going to win out. We've seen this team, nearly shit the bed against a god-awful South Carolina team on the road. That is concerning. That is very concerning. I get it. They went on the road and they beat Kentucky. Okay, since then, Kentucky's made changes. Now I think Kentucky probably wins that game 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 times. Now, by the way they're playing recently. They caught Kentucky at a good time. That's the only claim to fame they have this year. They're a shit awful team. And the fact that Arkansas collapsed like they do so often, especially in conference play and especially on the road, it still gives me pause for concern. Or cause for concern. However, whatever. This is Again, this is why I don't have Arkansas in the good basketball category yet. Listen, average teams make the tournament all the time. Maybe that's just what they are. Now Nick Smith could hopefully come into the fold. It changes the dynamic of Arkansas quite a bit. I mean, he is that kind of presence. He doesn't answer all your questions, that you have. There's still some. I've got some issues with them. I've got some issues with the Razorbacks. There's still some areas where it's a head scratcher why they're doing the things that they're doing and why they struggle and why they're having such a hard time at the free throw line, why they're turning the ball over 15 times a game or whatever it is, whatever we talked about earlier. I've still got a lot of issues with what's going on with Arkansas. Again, at the end of the day, I think they're just an average basketball team, but they have a really high ceiling. Even without Nick Smith, they have a really high ceiling. They just haven't really scratched it yet. And at this point in the season, this is so reminiscent of Musselman. I mean, you could say the same thing about Musselman, but it's really reminiscent of Mike Anderson as well. You struggle in January. You struggle at the end of December. You shit the bed in the month of January. You lose some games you shouldn't have lost. You lose some games you damn near should have won against some quality opponents. All of a sudden, because the ball doesn't drop your way or you don't get some fouls or, you're 55% at the free throw line, now those are major contributor to some losses. Now you're in a bad situation in the month of February where you've got to win all your home games. Now I don't know what it's going to take for Arkansas to be completely dropped out. I think probably getting swept by Kentucky and probably not winning another game on the road and probably losing. Well, that might be it. Getting swept by Kentucky and not winning another road game. That might be enough to knock you out, or at least put you in a situation where you got to go into the SEC tournament and do what A&M did last year, and they came up short. But they were damn close. They were damn close. Maybe that's the situation you're in. Maybe it's like, well, maybe we can get a couple of wins in the SEC tournament, and that'll be enough to kind of shift to get us back into the conversation. Could be the case. I think right now I have them winning all their games at home, and I think they can sweep. At the moment, I think they're at least I mean, this is hard to say because I don't know how much I'm buying into it, but I think they can win at a place where they don't win a lot at, which is at College Station. I just think it's a matchup nightmare for A&M. Arkansas is too long. They're too big. They're too talented for A&M, and they overwhelmed A&M with that and probably should have won double what they won at home against Bud Walton. But again, if I remember that game right, the final 5 or so minutes, A&M was able to kind of close the gap a little bit. They're just not. They're not good at closing out games. They don't know how to win on the road. They did win. They lucked out against South Carolina, and I agree. A win is a win. They found a way. But overall, though, let's be real. That's a shitty South Carolina team that I felt like they should have blown. I thought they should have blown the doors off the hinges in that game and won by 12, 14, 16 points. Should have been, at one point, a 25-point difference, right? At one point, and then maybe South Carolina kind of closes the gap and you win with like a 12 or 14-point lead. Didn't happen. They struggled quite a bit with a bad team. So they got to prove it to me that they're more than just average. I think average teams, they do all the time. They get in, they're 11 seeds, they're not, and then they're out, one and done. Arkansas, imagine Nick Smith getting a few games under his belt, getting a few weeks under his belt, and then going in, let's say you are an 11 seed. Woo! That's not an 11 seed you want to get matched up with. I'll say that much. I think Nick Smith could be the difference between being average and being good. But we've also seen some pretty decent teams get left out of the tournament. I think last year A&M was a good example of that. They were playing some damn good basketball at the end of the year. They did enough where I think they, the tide should have turned for them, and it just didn't. RC4 has to turn the athleticism all the way up this game. Yeah, he's going to have to. He's going to have to be a better presence defensively. His defense, I don't know. I don't know what Muss would say about his defense. I think he's done pretty well. He's no Devo, and that's just not fair to compare anyone to Devo. If Devo can stay a consistent shooter and cut turnovers down a little, he could be a second rounder. This is Jarrett Fountain. Yeah, his turnovers are little. He just gets too wild with the ball. He's all over the place with the ball. You just don't know what you're getting. You don't know what you're getting out of him when he's driving down the lane or when he's bringing the ball over half court sometimes. You just don't know what to expect. John Everett says, Ty, if Nick comes back, is it possible he will be a hindrance to the team? That's a good question. I like that question because, and I feel like we've had this conversation before when they were trying to get him back into the fold last time, him coming back from an injury. And that's why I said getting Nick back sooner than later, even though it might hinder the team a little bit early on, it's a must. It is pivotal that they get him back sooner than later. I don't know why he's not back. If he truly isn't, maybe he's 99% and he wants to be 100%. Musselman and his staff they want him at 100%. I don't know if there's something else going on, whatever. I don't give a shit about that stuff. What I do know is, well, I shouldn't say I don't give a shit. I mean, obviously I do, but you know what I'm saying. Under these circumstances, it just kind of is what it is. Getting him back sooner than later, getting the chemistry, getting the right formula. Like, do you want him? What is that rotation? It's going to change. It changes your rotation, changes the lineup, changes your starting five. It could have a dramatic look, and it may not make much of a difference at all. You just sub him out for one guy, and there you go, and they all click, and everything's fine. But do you want to push him early? Do you want to get him out on the floor and get him a strong 30 minutes right out the gate? I don't know. I mean, that would be up to him. That would be up to, where he's at. And of course, the team doctors and Musselman. But if he's full go, if he's 100%, do you just want to throw him in there and kind of force a square peg in a round hole and it just doesn't work out because you're trying too hard. You're trying to get him out there too quick, and it's just kind of messing with the rotation. You got to remember there are egos. I don't think any of these guys are I guys. It's all about me. I don't get that vibe. There are guys that get a little greedy with the ball, and listen, that's just natural. Guys that want to do too much. Anthony Black does it all the time, but I think he's a team player. But to some extent, though, it might rub some people the wrong way if he just comes in and all of a sudden he gets right out the gate 30 minutes. And also you're risking, you might think he's 100%, you get him out there and he's not. Now you've rushed him out onto the floor. You've rushed his minutes up, and you're risking furthering his, injury. Whatever it is, you could, re-injure the knee. You don't want to run into that situation, right? As a coach, as a staff, you got to be diligent about how you handle his minutes. So, and again, like you asked, John, there's a legitimate question about chemistry, and you can rush him out, and it can be a hindrance, and it can, and you're going to have to be careful, I think. Now, again, that's why practice is so important. They're going to have to see what he does in practice and see how long he can go in practice, and then you can take that and carry it with you into a game and figure it out from there. I mean, that's really all you can do. You roll the dice every time a guy from coming back from injury gets back out on the floor. Now, sometimes the roll is always in your favor because it's a low-risk injury. It's a low risk, re-injuring that injury. Sometimes it's lower than others. So luck might actually be on your side. And then sometimes it's not. And then you throw him back out on the floor and he gets hurt. You see it all the time in football. Black as point guard is only averaging 4 assists a game. Is that accurate? Yeah, he's averaging about 4.5 assists. I think there's all kinds of reasons for that. I think it's also just their style of play. We know they love to try and score in transition. They try to up the tempo, and they want to go down the floor and score as quickly as possible. We have seen them kind of, when they're getting trapped, when they're facing full court pressure, that's when those numbers need to jump up. That's when your distribution ability needs to climb. He sees the floor well. He sees the floor really well. I think he's got great vision as a point guard. The problem is he's asked to do more than he really should be, right? You don't have that other high-caliber scorer. Now, again, Devo's come along. Council's been inconsistent, but when he's at his best, he could be a high scorer. They're asking Anthony Black to do more than really I think they planned on him doing at the beginning of the year. And again, yeah, that's because of the injuries. That's because of your lineup. That's just simply because of the formula on the floor and the way and their style of play. It's not surprising that he's at 4 assists. Yeah, you'd like him to be higher. You'd love to see 5 to 6 assists a game, something like that. But to me, I think really what's going on is they're just asking him to do a lot more. He's asked to drive the lane, draw fouls, get points, get creative with scoring. He doesn't try a lot of the three balls, which sometimes I'm a little surprised by. He's passed up some open looks. Him and Ricky Council both pass up open looks. Devo now has got confidence. He's pulling the trigger and he's making them. Ty, if a game is close, assistant coaches need to keep us in check. We can't afford to tech this game. That's a good point, Charles. Yeah, I think his listen, I've already told you guys, I think he has a reputation among officials. I absolutely believe he has a reputation. I think this team has a reputation amongst officials. So they need to be careful. I think they need to decide who is going to be the one carrying this team. I think Ricky does too much. They all came from teams where they were the man. Yeah, that kind of goes back to the little bit of ego, right? We talked about that earlier in the year where you've got all these guys that were big contributors, either from high school, right, or from another college team, and they're being asked, yeah, you're going to have to ride the pine, or you're not going to start this game, right? You're going to have to, in these final minutes, we're going to go with this rotation or whatever. This guy's going to have the ball in the final minutes. Although I don't know that Musk plans it out that far ahead of time. They're trying to carry a D1 SEC team. Now they're trying to carry a D1 SEC team. Yeah, I agree. We have so many different stats that if we just did a little better, and we'd have dramatically different win-loss. Yet again, I don't know if you were here earlier, but we talked about that earlier, about Arkansas. If they're a little bit better at getting to the free throw line. Now, again, you went to the line against Auburn, what was it, 32 times. It was a bad officiated game, and yeah, Arkansas got some calls in their favor, but they still shot piss poor. 19 of 32, 59%. Yeah, you still lost 72-59, but that could change the way Auburn plays you when you're knocking down, let's say, 75% of those. That's asking a lot for any road team in any conference, any division. That's hard to do. 75% at the line is hard to do on the road. But they've done it. They shot 88% against, I think, just as hostile of an environment against Mizzou. They shot 88%, and that's not on like 12 attempts. That's on more than double that. That's 26 attempts, and they were 88%, and they lost 76-79. What was the difference there? 21 turnovers. So, yeah, I agree. Couple of areas that they're just a tad bit better. Yeah, I'm taking Kentucky in this game. I think it's going to be – I feel like it'll be kind of toe-to-toe. You just don't know what to expect out of Arkansas other than inconsistent play, right? I mean, they're not good on the road. Kentucky, for the most part, since kind of making some changes again in how they approach, the KU loss is a little bit surprising because I don't know what to believe in KU. I don't know what to buy in KU. They're not a horrible team. They're still 18-5. That's not bad, especially in the Big 12. But they've just, I don't know, against ranked opponents, KU's kind of been so-so. I mean, KU lost to Kansas State, TCU, Baylor. They're all ranked. They go on the road against Kentucky. They win 77-68 in unranked Kentucky. They did beat Kansas State. They split those games, but that was at home. But then they just went on the road and got spanked by Iowa State 68 to 53. They got spanked. They got Texas coming up. That's tonight. Hey, if you're bored, you got nothing else better to do tonight. KU Texas, that might be an interesting matchup. I feel like I'd take Texas, but then again, KU's at home. Texas is 19-4. Think about the things they've gone through this year. They're 19-4, 8-2 in conference play. As much as it kills me to brag or to give them any positive press at all. Hell no, the number one player in the nation out of high school, he makes you better. And even if he wasn't all that, his shooting alone from outside makes him a huge help to our team. Well, yeah, Aaron, I'm not saying all I'm saying is he doesn't answer all your prayers. I don't know if you're talking to me or not, but no, he doesn't answer all your prayers. He's a great player. He's a great scorer. We don't know enough about his defense. I think he plays pretty good defense. He's certainly an athlete. I mean, there's no doubt, but there's plenty of athletes. But he doesn't answer all your prayers. You know, he's not a forward. He's not a center. He's not a big. He's not a guy that's gonna, you know, if he were to play around the rim, he's probably gonna get pushed around a little bit because that's not his role. That's not what he is. He's a combo guard. He doesn't answer all your prayers. He does make you better. Yes. I felt like we've been one game away from putting it all together all season long. We just still have that major consistency issue. Yeah, consistency is a problem with this team. We'll see what they do if they play at a really high level tomorrow, and they can get in Kentucky's head just a little bit. Silence Rupp Arena. Got to keep Rupp quiet. Listen, I'd love to see them knock up about like 5 and 1 shots. I'd like to see some and ones. And ones can kill crowds. And ones can absolutely take crowds out. More so than maybe anything that can happen. Even a dunk. Even a big-time dunk from the opponent. Nothing like an and one because it's a continued event. Not only do you get to play at the rim or whatever happens, not only do you get the bucket, which could silence the crowd, then you've got that lull, is it lull, L-U-L, whatever. You silence the crowd for an extended period of time, then you got the opportunity to knock down the free throw, which will also keep the crowd silent. Listen, I've been to a lot of basketball games, and I've always noticed when the away team comes in and knocks down an and one, it just kills the crowd, takes the momentum completely out of it. You know, a big time dunk, like some crazy reverse dunk or something that's wild, something like we'd see from Ricky Council. Oh yeah, the crowd's like, oh shit. But guess what? Now you're back in transition and you're back playing in the game. And one, it's a whole event. Like you make the shot and now you're at the free throw line, you have the opportunity for 3 points, so on and so forth. To be fair, a lot of scoring from Nick Smith does help ease. Again, all I'm saying is he doesn't answer all of your prayers. He can be a great scorer. I've said before, I think he's a 3-level scorer. He can drive, he can knock down the jump shot, and he can score from outside. I'm not saying he's not a huge piece on the chessboard, guys. If you've been here long enough and if you've been to enough of these live shows, I constantly talk about how big of a piece he is on the chessboard. You're missing that huge piece on the board. I'm just simply saying he doesn't answer all of your prayers. There's still some glaring issues with this team outside of just scoring. It's not just about scoring. Yeah, you need a prolific scorer. Absolutely. You can't leave it up to Devo every single game. You know, Ricky Council needs to be more consistent. Having Nick Smith and Devo and Ricky Council on the floor together, if you really need some offense, oh my God. Like, here we go, baby. Like that's goosebumps, you know? Yeah, absolutely. But there's other issues, right? You know, not very many teams are going to foul Nick Smith in the final minutes. Is Nick Smith a takeover kind of guy in the final minutes, right? You see guys all the time, lottery picks, first-round draft picks, highly rated 5 and 4 stars, you know, known for being great scorers, but where are they in the final 5 minutes of a basketball game or the final 4 or 5 possessions? Sometimes they disappear. You need that guy to step up, and lately it's just kind of been sporadic for Arkansas there. Those are some of the things they need to fix. Maybe Nick Smith is that guy. Maybe he is that guy. He's going to take over in the final minutes. We'll see if, God willing, he comes back hopefully sooner than later. It seems if we get a guy, the rest of the team is scared to try to take over as well, especially in the last minute of a game, right? I agree with you there, but what I'm saying is our problems don't have to be magically fit. Well, it's not about waving a magic wand. Yeah, I mean, I hear you. It's just about being smarter with the ball, turnovers, right? It's being smarter with the ball. It's knocking down your shots at the charity stripe. It's not collapsing in the final minutes of a game. It's staying out of like Walsh and Kamani staying out of foul trouble. Like, it's those things. Those things are huge. Inconsistent play from guys that are supposed to be your scorers outside of Devo. And again, Devo's not a high-scoring guy. He's not a guy that's going to get you 20 a night, 18, 19, 20 a night. He can get you 20 points, not consistently. He's not going to be a guy, and not very many people do. But he's not a guy that's going to get you 18, 19 points a game. Ricky Council has not proven that, but he's definitely your highest scoring guy. Like, there's just things that, look at offensive rebounding. Like, teams have just come in and mopped the floor with you on second chance shots. Nick Smith doesn't help you there. That's just got to be better play from the guys underneath. That's going to be better boxing out. Nick Smith will drastically change how teams confront Arkansas. Nick Smith will drastically change how you prep for Arkansas. No doubt about that. A lottery pick, potentially a top 3 pick, or a lottery pick. I'm sure he's fine with either. It will always have an impact on the floor. And Nick Smith maybe more than most. But again, there's other issues that are kind of outside of his perimeters, right? He doesn't control the way Ricky plays. He can have an impact on the way they play. He could bring confidence to these guys. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But being smarter with the basketball. These are just things. Devo's always been that way. Devo's been around some first-round talent before. That's not going to change Devo. It might help him with when he's driving the lane. Maybe he's going to look more often for Nick Smith, and maybe that'll help decrease his turnovers. But again, he doesn't. All I'm saying is he doesn't answer all your problems. A lot of Hog fans seem to think he's like, I don't want to say second coming of Jesus, but they think he's like this deity that's going to come in and, we're going to win out. Hell no, you're not winning out even with Nick Smith. Again, too many other issues. Does he get you in those games all of a sudden? Are we some of these glaring mistakes at the end of these games? Does he help in those categories? Maybe he is good at getting to the free throw line. Maybe he is the kind of guy in the final minutes to find a way to get an opponent into foul trouble and to make his shots at the line. Maybe he could be like what Chris Likes was, and then also way above Chris Likes, obviously. Far better talent than Chris Likes. Nothing against him. But Likes had that reputation coming in the final minutes of a game. When Musselman cut his minutes on the floor, he goes from 25, 30 minutes a game down to 10 minutes a game. And what does he do? He gets to the free throw stripe, and he takes over the game essentially because he's making his shots. Maybe that's something Nick Smith can do. But overall, he's a far better player. My God, he is a potential NBA. God only knows what he does at the next level. Listen, just because you're first round also doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a star. But he certainly looks like he could be a star in the NBA. His potential is through the damn roof. That's why it's so important to get him back sooner than later, man. Ty, Nick Smith doesn't answer all your prayers. Chat, Ty says Nick is a bust. Yeah, it's kind of – I'm used to that. I think some people here, like, this. If I'm not praising him the way that I guess I'm supposed to be, well, then I'm a hater or something. Or no, it's not that at all. I do think he's going to be huge. It's going to be huge to get him back. I mean, again, goosebumps, man. The thought of him and Devo and Ricky Council, maybe Walsh gets his act together, right? Maybe he could consistently stay out of foul trouble. A lot of promise there, man. I mean, a lot of upside, no doubt. He changes the landscape of the floor for Arkansas and how you defend Arkansas. That's how big of a player he is. There's just other issues that they've just got to fix. That's outside of his perimeter. It's outside of what he's supposed to do. What's up, Tanya? How you doing, Tanya Henry? It's been a minute. I hope you're doing all right. I missed the 3-pointers from TB. Yeah. Oh, man, now that's a guy. Oh, what a blow. Losing Brazil, man. I mean, what a blow. Yeah. He did so much. I mean, he was a terror. I mean, I just, golly. I really hope this doesn't become the biggest what-if season. Certainly feels like it, though. It has that feel to it, Ty, thanks for answering my question about a short-term problem of hindrance. Oh, yeah. That seems so long ago now, John. I've gone off on several. I've gone off on a couple different rants. Ty, if Nick comes back, have him six-man for a few games. Yeah, I think that, backcourt with Devo, Black. Yeah, and I keep forgetting Black on the floor as well. Because I think if Nick comes onto the floor, AB doesn't have to be the scorer. All of a sudden, he can just worry about distributing the ball, playing the role of the true one, of a point guard, of why he was brought here to begin with. Yeah, you'll take his points. Nobody's saying you're not going to take his points. But now you're kind of taking a little bit of the heat off of him, a little bit of the weight off his shoulders. Now he can worry about distribution. Now he can worry about racking up those assists. That's how much of a change Nick Smith will have when he comes back, no doubt. Okay? No doubt. That's a big change. And that's kind of where my mind goes when I get Nick Smith, when I picture him back on the floor, and then I picture Devo and RC. Black can be that guy too. No doubt. Black can be that guy where all of a sudden everyone's so concerned about this combo guard, potential lottery pick, where now Black can kind of play into the combo guard and not have to worry about being the distributor as much. And I don't think that Muss is putting that all on him, by the way. I don't think they are asking for Anthony Black, but I think he just does it himself. I think Anthony Black just kind of sees what's happening and decides, you know what, I'm going to drive the lane. I'm going to find a way to get some points, and he could do it. Black can do it, man. There's a reason why he's looked at as a possible lottery pick as well. Brazil was my top guy on this team. JC, he was legit. Is he coming back? Are you talking about TB? No one knows. There's always talk. There's always someone out there flapping their gums. I would just say ignore it until we know, until the time comes. You know, just right now we don't know. Nick Smith is not coming back next year. If that's what you're asking, Tanya, a lot of people believe he will be back sometime in the month of February. I mean, we're in February. My God, it's already the 6th. So hopefully, again, sooner than later. So, all right. I do appreciate you guys. Fun chat, fun talk. Listen, I know these shows tend to just turn into, if they don't turn into Dan Enos and the offense in 2023 for football, it then turns into Nick Smith and what this team looks like. Again, my official statement on Nick Smith is I can't wait for him to come back. You guys know that. I'm a big Nick Smith fan. I cannot imagine what this team's going to look like. I don't think he answers all your prayers. You've still got other issues on the floor. There's things that they're just outside of his control, right? That's why I don't think he answers all of your prayers. But my God, is he going to be a huge boost to this team, hopefully on both ends of the floor. And he's a two-way player. You know, and there's other guys, like, let's not pass up Walsh. Walsh was a McDonald's All-American. Walsh has a really high ceiling. He's just got to stay out of foul trouble. Be a little bit more consistent. Would love to see him turn it up as an offensive guy. Would love to see it. Inside information, he will not be back at all this year. Well, I don't know, Tanya. I mean, he's still with the team. He's enrolled in school. I mean, you're talking about a guy that's a lottery pick, and he enrolled in school this year. He didn't have to do that. So I don't know. Maybe he doesn't come back. I don't know. I think he does. You know, I hope it's not a scenario where it's too little, too late. I think Arkansas will be in the picture all the way into March. I think they'll be in the picture going into the SEC tournament. I think it'll be established that Arkansas's in. You know, hopefully you're not in a situation where you got to go into the SEC tournament and win some games. Hopefully that's not the case. But, yeah, his dad and others say – his dad says he will. Others say no. Yeah. I'm probably going to listen to his dad, you know, more than I am anybody. But, again, it doesn't mean that it's guaranteed, you know. But I think he does. All right. Anyways, I appreciate you guys. Again, shout out to Patreon supporters, all of you who stuck it out and stuck with me. We lost a few this month coming out of December into January. We lost some people, but I'm so thankful for those of you that stuck around and for those of you who joined the $8 and up club. Man, oh man, especially with the way YouTube. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. The way they're setting this up, it makes it. They're not helping out their content creators and how they're dispersing the money, how they're dispersing the revenue. So it's definitely taken a hit. There's no doubt I've taken a hit there. Hopefully YouTube gets it straightened out. I don't know. Whatever. Thank God I've got Patreon supporters. Thank God I've got sponsors, right? That kind of help that out. There are some more plans for this channel. They're in the works. Just sometimes it's a matter of, I fell a little bit behind last week because we had AMI. Our kids were out of school all last week, so that really kind of put me behind a little bit. But I'm hoping to get back on doing some things this week. There might be some changes coming on Discord in the coming months. And I'm giving Patreon supporters. I mean, you guys have what kind of insider access that's available is in that Patreon Discord chat. So if you're in our Discord and you want to be in on that chat, subscribe to Patreon, and then let me know, and I'll add you to the list of Patreon names if you guys want to join that. Again, shout out to Apex Tattoo Studio, The Odd Soul, and Direct Service Overhead, the Garage Door Company. I'm not here without them as well. So, woo pig, and I will see you guys on the post-game show tomorrow night. It's going to be a late one, but I'm going to be here, and I'm excited. Hopefully, Arkansas proves me wrong tomorrow, and they play spectacular. Maybe Kentucky just plays ugly, and Arkansas takes advantage. It'd be a huge win and a gigantic step in the right direction for this program this year in staying in the tournament conversation. So, no, YouTube has been screwing a ton of people. Yeah, no, it's not been good. YouTube is really not making it easy. So, anyways, I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Hopefully you're there for the post-game show. It's the best one available. Woo pig. Go Hawks.